Welcome back to the What's Up Eddie channel, Divine Therapy Sessions. And of course, I'm the one and only Eddie. So glad to have you guys back. And these are my Divine Therapy Sessions. I have a little different setup today, but today we're going to talk about a lesson that I had learned early on. I would say about 15 months ago, there was this huge shift, which I always love to talk about. What happened for me is I got to learn a lot of lessons after I got rid of some bad habits, right? I dropped, drinking, and I stopped doing drugs, and I had a spiritual awakening. I worked the AA 12 steps, and my life had changed. A huge thing that I had learned, and there was many lessons, right? But one of the big lessons for me was actually shifting my bad habits, right? Of course, it's a process, right? You have to do you don't have to, but you get to do inner work. And when you do this inner work and you start to develop your character, develop the person that you are, and you look at, your life in a way where it's different from you looked in the past, right? So you start to look at what you've done wrong in your life, right? And then you take accountability for it. And then once you take accountability for it, you start to change your behavior, right? And after this happens, you start to free yourself of that burden. And when you actually release this stuff, you have time to actually look at and build this character, the person that you are, right? And what I learned, one of the biggest takeaways, and I think that, and this has been on my heart that I wanted to get out to you guys, is actually turning these. So a lot of times these characteristics that we deem bad about ourselves, that we actually are using against people. I found that I was doing this, right? So a lot of the times just for me, right? I would be in relationships or in opportunities like jobs, and I would use my powers, you would say, my intuition, my ability to read people, my ability to use my charm, my magnetism, my command. I would use these things actually to get over on people. I would use them in a way that was low vibrational, right? And it worked for a time period, but what this does when you're working in this low vibration, it actually starts to eat away at your soul. And that's what it had done for me. And after a while, people are going to start to, they're going to understand your getup, right? And you're going to have to keep moving and moving and moving from a relationship to a relationship, or a job to a job, just depending on what's going on in your life. And I know that had rang true for myself. But when I actually released all the negativity, right, I actually looked at where I used these things, and that's the huge part. When you do the shadow work or the inner work, you start to realize how you utilize you'll make an inventory on what it is that's actually in your life that's detrimental, right? What other people did to you. And what you do is you flip it around. How did you start to do that to other people? And I can't express this enough. In order for you to grow, you have to start looking at how you do things, not how other people did it to you. You can start with that. That's a very good start. And that's the huge change. So this is the fun part, right? So once I actually released a lot of these bad qualities, right? And I started to take accountability. I started to find that I did have these powers, right? And how do we utilize it? So one of the biggest things that a person who has an addictive quality, there's a couple things that they have, right? They have an obsessive, they obsess about what they need, right? For me, it happened to be like my addiction or my alcoholism. I'd obsess over the next drink, but it didn't just pertain to the drink. It pertained to everything in my life. I was obsessive about my relationships, obsessive about my clothes, obsessive about what's going to happen in the future, actually obsessed about the past. Now, if you turn that around and you start to realize, wait a minute, I can use this obsession for something else. I can obsess about things that are going to be positive, right? So I flipped it. I started obsessing about things that were going to boost, uplift, right? And what I realized too, which another good lesson was to help another person. And that was the pillar. That's your safe go. That's the safe bet. Whenever you get outside of yourself and help another person, it will never steer you in the wrong direction. You'll always be coming from a place of heart. And even, I say this too, when you actually help another person and you don't actually feel it in your heart that you want to help them, you can actually do this over and over and over again until you can act your way into it, until you get into a place where you actually feel better. And it only takes once or twice. And I say this, even the most hardened people, I've seen it. And I felt like I was more of like the easier person of like, I always love to give, I have that heart, but I've seen people just melt because what it does to you, it helps you get away from that pain, that void. You can feel that void by helping another person. It's just a safe bet all the way around. So what I actually had happen is I started to concentrate on my spirituality, right? I started to concentrate on helping other people. I would concentrate on talking to my mentors. I would actually do the work necessary, the inner work, right? I started meditating. I started eating better. I started treating myself with self-love, right? And every capacity of my life. I started to distance myself from people who were actually meant harm to me. And it took a long time for me to actually do these things, but when it happened, it changed things, right? And this isn't the only thing. So I actually turned that obsession into my favor, right? And I've actually, in the process of helping people, I've found my purpose, a part of my purpose, right? To aid and teach people through my experience. And who would have thought that? And isn't that amazing? As people, we find that like our secrets and the things that we've done wrong in our life are actually the things that we should keep quiet. Well, it's actually just a poison, but we keep it inside and it's poisoning us. If you tell another person, and I say this all the time, and I can't stress it enough, you release all that burden that you've been holding, and we hold on to it so tightly, and it's not necessary. But so getting back to it, when there was other things that I actually started changing, and that was I used my intuition to actually start realizing that I can read people, their body language, what they were saying. I used my intuition to actually dive deeper into what people are actually trying to say at the root of what they're saying. Because a lot of the times people are going to tell you, they wear like 7 different masks. But when you're actually strong in spirit and you can read omens, which I can read people, I can read their aura, and I started using these things and developing them. And it actually, I found that I was actually socially, I can actually get down to the root cause. And the charm that I have, the magnetism, the commanding attitude that I have, it actually all works together, right? God has made us, and I found with myself, has made us perfectly. So whatever it is that you have specifically to you guys, you can use these qualities, and God's given them to you to do exactly what you were put on this earth to do. Now, obviously, you use your own discernment. If you're not going to do what I'm doing, right? I'm on YouTube or, doing motivational speaking. If you're not doing that, apply it to your own life. How are you actually, what are the qualities that you have? And once you get those qualities, you'll realize that whatever you're doing, you can use those to help not only what you're doing, but what others are as well. So I actually started to develop my intuition, develop my communication skills, right? I started using my charm, not to get over on people, but to help them, right? To lift people up. And it's changed my life completely. And I say, like, the huge lesson, a part of all this is, though we deem things to actually being harmful for us, they're actually, when you actually do the work that I keep expressing to everybody, the inner work, you can actually turn it around and it could become your strengths. And I can't express this enough. This was like the huge takeaway. And I always tell others that you always deem yourself in a certain level, right? Because of all the things that you've done in the past. But when you let that go, you become more. You become more strong. You actually gain the power that you actually had the whole time by saying the things that you thought were your weaknesses. So let's turn those weaknesses into strengths. That's all I got, you guys. I love you. Love and light. Make sure to subscribe, comment, like, dislike. I don't care either way. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I love you. Bye.